Hi, Paper Peeps, and welcome to the Paper Fold. I am your host, Sarah. If you are on Instagram and not following the feed of Amy Loewenberg, Relations and Partnership Development Manager for New York Now, you are not doing Instagram right. Amy.at New York Now is filled with the fruits of her travels to shops around New York City and the surrounding area. It is dynamic. It is filled with wonder and surprises, just like I remember shopping used to be, especially in New York City. Amy also creates a lot of webinar and podcast programming for New York Now. It seems like every week I am hearing about something new she's produced. Today, she joins me here in something of a new format. I have a few questions for her. She has a few for me. And then we have some exciting news to share. So stick around. It's all happening right after this. Hey, Paper Peeps. So by now, many of my listeners are familiar with the force of stationary nature, better known as Girl with Knife. But if you aren't, time to change all that. From the first moment I spied her booth at her New York Now trade show debut in 2019, I was smitten with this cutting edge range that the world was calling out for. We all just didn't know it yet. Everything is nimbly collaged to life, slice by careful slice by the talented and exquisite Alicia Castaldi. This stylish collection of cards, journals, and notepads that have sprung to life under this fashionista's exacting knife is sharp, snarky, sleek, and occasionally very sweet, just like that BFF who would love to hear from you right now. For that reason, whenever I get my hands on Girl with Knife merchandise, I hoard it and use it most sparingly. Alicia recently launched Gift Wrap, and if you're already a fan of her range, you're familiar with her patterns and quality, but these super thick sheets elevate any gift from off the rack to atelier. Her recent releases of Midnight Botanical, Rare Creatures, and Chasing Dreams bring the total styles that slay up to 10. And if you're like me and that you fall in love with a range and want to reside in that world, you're in luck. Alicia recently unveiled Knife House, which was one of the few good things I can think of that came out of 2020. That was when Alicia shifted her operation from LA to this newly renovated concept home in Palm Springs. This completely private, walled and gated estate features panoramic mountain views and countless luxe surprises. Take a tour through its magnificent blush pink doors at www.knifehousepalmsprings.com or find it on Instagram at knifehousepalmsprings. Good luck getting your jaw off the floor as you take in this perfect California adult playground. These glamorous digs are available for photo shoots, film projects, special events, and short-term rentals. But just as importantly, all that exquisite Palm Springs flora and fauna have inspired Alicia's soon-to-be-released journal and notepads. She tells me that they're also expanding into home decor, which I, for one, absolutely can't wait to see. So now that you've glimpsed this wonderful world, you need this cutting-edge lifestyle brand in your life. Find Girl with Knife in hundreds of shops across the U.S. and over half a dozen countries. Alicia and Girl with Knife have also been featured in New York Magazine, LA Business Journal, BuzzFeed, and of course, Stationery Trends. I've run her work there countless times. Alicia was one of our 10 designers to watch in 2020 and proceeded to live up to that designation when last May, 2 out of her 3 nominated cards took CHAP honors at the Noted and Noted virtual greeting card competition. Then, for our winter 2021 issue of Stationery Trends, Alicia designed the 10 designers to watch frontispiece for us. It is something else if you haven't seen it yet. Also, As of 2021, Alicia is represented by none other than the Daniel Richards showrooms in Atlanta and Dallas. Dan's eye is renowned in this biz, so his representing Girl with Knife is unsurprising, but it also means that this brand needs to be on your design radar stat. Check out this beguiling range at the recently refreshed girlwithknife.com. Right now, the theme is Season of Fierce, and I think we can all use one of those about now. I guarantee your stationery will slay. Hi, everyone. Please welcome Amy Loewenberg to the Paper Fold. Amy came up in the industry with a job I would have killed for, paper buyer at Kate's Papery. Now, Amy is the Relations and Partnership Development Manager for New York Now. If you are not already personally acquainted with Amy, chances are you have seen her magnificent Instagram feed. It's filled with an activity I've been missing forever now, shopping in New York City. But for Amy, shopping and design is not a spectator sport. It's in her blood. She's not there to pick up a trinket or two. She is there to understand and share everything that goes into it. Born and raised in New York City, Amy spent time in California and Minnesota before making her way back home and then becoming enamored with all things styled, designed, and created along the way. She surrounded herself with greeting cards and stationery, home goods and decor, tabletop and textiles in every medium, from paper to gifts throughout her journey. Whether buying or selling for a large lifestyle company, iconic New York City retailer, or trade show, she has used her passion for our industry to inspire her in whatever she was doing, leading successful sales teams, purchasing, creation, and implementation of strategic programs and campaigns, and developing important and treasured relationships and partnerships. Wow. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Hello. It's great to be here.
So my first question for you is this. You went from the paper buyer of Kate's Papery, which I could pretty much dedicate an entire episode to now being on the staff of Emerald, which means that you pretty much provide Emerald with the perspective of the stationery buyer. So what type of experience do you think it is crucial for retailers and buyers to have in the revised gift and stationery section?
Okay. Well, first of all, for clarity's sake, Emerald is a huge corporation owning over 50 B2B events. I work for Emerald, but I'm on the New York Now team with a hearty side helping of American Handcrafted and previously the National Stationery Show. So I wouldn't say that I provide Emerald with the perspective of a stationery buyer because not all of our markets included that category. However, I definitely shared a great deal of information to my group because, as you mentioned before, I do have the personal experience of not just being a buyer, but a paper buyer. So it was really important for me to share that DNA because, we know that paper falls into so many different categories, and we also know what's happened in the paper industry essentially since the dawn of the internet. So it's important to understand the challenges of the industry that were felt by the manufacturers, the artists, and the designers. And I know you interviewed Tim Hart, our senior vice president, and he shared why and how we pulled the National Stationery Show into the fold of New York Now, and that it was an action. Hi, dog.
Oh my God, that's Scout.
Scout happens all over the place. But the reality is that was an action that was felt to be the best choice to continue supporting this important market and our vendors in the strongest way possible.
And the experience of a paper shop, what they are looking for is very different than what your traditional gift and home decor shop is looking for. So
exactly. So to answer your question, consumer shopping habits and expectations, they've shifted and journeys are no longer predictable. So by having a highly curated section that focuses specifically on greeting cards, stationery, and invitations, we've created a target destination for our paper buyers. And we're going to continue to have our paper-centric lifestyle brands throughout the gift section. which we're going to look forward to walking in August. This allows our buyers to experience shopping for those specific products in a concentrated section while still allowing additional paper categories to live within the gift section in a more complete presentation. And so if you think about it, there were a lot of vendors with crossover product anyway. So as the definition of lifestyle has evolved, again, so have we. So the experience for our retailers and buyers will continue to be filled with diversity and discovery of products. And now they're able to plan their product seeking agenda in a larger section that was once shrinking.
So that's all great for the physical show. But when it comes to digital market, how does this apply to that?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, because the one thing to know about our digital market is that it's not just at multiple times of the year. It's a 365 platform. So it's a year-round sourcing, replenishment, and exploration resource for our buyers. The sheer digital market is taking place January 28th through February 3rd. Yep, February 3rd. And then our summer in-person market will be August 8th through 11th. But using the digital platform, that is something that all of our buyers and retailers can be using on a daily basis. And then get excited about when the digital market is actually taking place. There will be a whole wave of new vendors to be inspired by.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I have the digital market tabs, and I visit it all the time. I'm always like checking in to see, what did I see from that vendor? Let me go in and see that. And so I know that if it's helpful for me, that attendees and buyers and retailers will really, really find that valuable. So I've told you so many times how jealous I am that you get to go out and shop in New York and go to stores. I have so many questions. The first being, take me with you. Can you take me with you?
You are welcome to join.
Don't say that. I might show up. So I have so many questions. And you do a lot of store visits and, we'll take on a neighborhood one day. So tell me, what has changed and what has stayed the same?
Totally loaded questions, Sarah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And so broad and we have hours for you to answer it.
No, it's totally fine. I think I would say that everything has changed. Looking to present our brands in a fashion that still speaks to who we are when we can't count on the same supports that we once had. The manner in which we were doing business has completely changed. So even though we might see consistency in the product and hopefully in the brand presentation, everything behind it has changed. So we see an evolution of everything. Everybody's bouncing through the CDC restrictions and how many people can be in your stores and taking temperatures and hand sanitizers and limited hours of operation. That's a real big change to the product assortment. As I mentioned before, you have some people who have expanded upon categories, some of which have kept them alive during the shutdown, like producing or selling masks and sanitizers. So I'm going to say that everything has changed, but that doesn't have to be a negative statement, because on that same note, we've had time to reflect and to make positive changes. So I've experienced a real shift in how we're working together, and sharing information and resources, just navigating through the loans, figuring out if our business models are sustainable. Did you have a website? Do you need to make a website? Those are all conversations that we've been having for months and months and months. Right. And stationery paper is a very tight community, and I think it became tighter. I didn't necessarily hit up stationery stores, so to speak. It was mostly lifestyle stores, and they all include paper. So I've experienced smiles and tears, and I've heard of strength and loss, and everything that you can think of has been experienced by someone. So, I would say everything has changed, and what has stayed the same is the love and the energy and the passion behind what we do. And it's so vital to live in that space right now.
Right, right. I mean, part of me feels like I would love to shop in stores in New York with less people in them. I mean, that was always I lived in New York for years, and one of my biggest problems was all the other people. So in a way, it's a nice experience. It's nice to go to a store and not have a super long line and dozens and dozens of other people.
And actually more options, Sarah, too, because we also hear stories of how people are doing personalized shopping through Facebook or Instagram and online. So the means of being able to sustain your business with reduced hours, I think that's again, I'm going to say it's not new. We've been doing this for many months now, but people are perfecting this. Obviously, as we're opening up more and more, we don't know what's coming in the next few weeks, but, just traveling around the city alone, I've experienced nothing opened to, curbside, to being able to go in with a few people, to new store generation. And I've been really trying to focus on that because, this is a really new time for us. And we're not going to not experience something catastrophic in the future. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world is. And these are real life issues that we have to deal with. But this one has made us stronger. And I think for the fact that we're seeing retail growth, it speaks to the industry. It speaks to the passion. It speaks to, just that internal gumption that we have to keep things going and learn along the way. And so what has changed again is that passion and that desire to not let it go. And I'm grateful for that.
Right, right. Well, New Yorkers are tough. New Yorkers are tough.
Yeah,
and stick together. No. They are. Take it from someone in Ohio. But I mean, and the other thing I wonder about, and I wonder if you've observed, is just more like consumer behavior. Like paper is so tactile. Obviously, we don't have that same relationship with touch anymore. And even when we get into gifts and housewares and home decor, like picking up and sniffing candles, things like that. Are you noticing other shoppers as a little more hands off than they used to be?
Well, are you asking on the consumer side, the actual shoppers? Or, okay.
Yes, what you're seeing when you physically go into shops. Yeah,
there is definitely a respect to the handling of product in general, just because of sanitation. In dealing with how a designer or a vendor is dealing with that, just even in terms of the digital market. I was talking with Jane from Focal Point, where she's got these amazing textiles. And she was like, here I am doing a digital market filled with product that people need to touch. And so how do you create that sensation of touch? And it's by elevating all the other senses. It's hold up that product to the camera so the person on the other end can really see that the weave and get a visceral feeling from it. Building the relationship with Jessica at Patty Wax, we know her candles and we know the incredible fragrances, right. Being able to call her and say, I want something new, and being able to talk to somebody at Patty Wax saying, about this scent, you're going to like this one because of that relationship. So it is really about the relationship right now and knowing who your customer is. So whether you're walking off the street and having that dialogue with somebody inside of a retail store, like we're all doing now, is taking those cues of, who are you shopping for? What do you like? What have you liked? And being able to zero in on being able to present an item. Customer service, more than anything, has become really lovely and just so important. So,
right.
It's dancing around what we have to dance around, Sarah,
Yeah, pretty much. And so What lessons are you learning there that you're implementing into the gift and stationery section? Like, what do you feel like you've seen, that you can replicate for retailers? And you're probably hearing all of their problems as well when you talk with them. Not problems, challenges. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that right, but you know what I'm saying. Like, you hear, oh, this didn't show up and this didn't sell through, and my site is having issues, and that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, whether you're talking to somebody who is a purveyor of a trade show, or whether you're talking to someone who puts up a pop-up event, or they're an independent business owner, or you are the consumer, we're all experiencing our challenges. Your shop is not filled properly because unfortunately one of your suppliers didn't get that, shipment in, and you missed out on what was supposed to fill your shelves. Your budget was so meticulously planned out, and you're having to take other steps, and you're having to really think on the fly. I think, the word of, do I say it? The word of the year is pivot. It's true. Right. We need to be nimble. And I think no matter what position you hold, no matter what job you hold, we have to be nimble, and we have to support each other and recognize that nothing turned out the way that we thought it did. We did not have a crystal ball for this. So we all have to be just understanding and gracious along the way. Our digital market, that was the first time we did one. And I am really, really proud of what we did, because you and I both know you have to start somewhere and then you build on it. Right, so that's what we're doing. So hopefully our community of buyers and our community of sellers, they're going to see the changes in the evolution, and we work with them to instill those changes. So bringing it out to the street, my gosh, those retailers are asking me what I see and what I know. I'm asking them, what are they experiencing? And we're just sharing information all along the way. I've made so many new friends. It's been that silver lining. Right.
And they're friends in a different way than they might have been in the before times. Dare I say, like, people are relating to each other in such different ways. Which brings me to my last question. And then I understand you have some questions for me.
I do. I'm so excited. I get to interview the interviewer.
Oh my gosh. But I want to know, with all that being said, how has COVID changed how you see stationery?
Okay. So we know how hard the industry had been hit, and we can also see the evolution of paper over the last couple of decades, especially recently pre-COVID, like just the honoring of the process, the addition of new eyes and new important artists with a different vision. I think that COVID has impacted stationery just as it's impacted us personally. I do not want to gloss over the immense sadness and loss that we've experienced on so many different levels. But social correspondence has been about wishing happy birthday and happy holidays, and acknowledging mom and dad, and sending out sympathies and providing uplifting messages. And I think we saw more smiley emojis invade our fashion and gifts and paper, but it's also become more socially acceptable trend of using expletives in our messaging. And I think that there's been a good amount of anger and frustration that we've had to process. And sometimes a really good snarky card just says what we need it to. Right. It's not new. It's not new.
If there was ever a time to swear, it's now.
It is. And we have some great vendors like Offensive and Delightful and Umlaut Brooklyn. I mean, they totally crack me up. So I think that's been a louder voice right now that I've been seeing, like way more options in my travels. But I definitely don't want to overlook the supportive programs that have been amped up as well. So how I see COVID changing stationery the most is, you've got companies like Good Juju sending out 18 million thanks to our healthcare workers, and the amazing GCA working with the post office and creating important new programs for emerging Black artists to help the industry as a whole thinking of You Week over from the UK, and of course, the Blessed Louis. So like just to take a moment to acknowledge just the amazing organizations that continue to honor and support stationery. And that's how COVID has impacted stationery. It's the continuation and evolution of a process and of an industry, really.
Right. I agree completely. And it has, elevated the media. The medium has a new importance. I mean, for years, like when I was at Gift Stationery, and I covered stationery, and we had a whole bunch of categories. I mean, stationery was always the red-haired stepchild, and it is the red-haired stepchild no longer. I've been waiting 20 years for this.
Everybody wants red hair now.
I know. Yours is rather fetching.
Wait, thank you.
You're welcome. Amy has some questions for me right after this. Hey, Paper Peeps. So Kitty Meow Boutique has been a fabulous client of mine for a while now. So hopefully many of my listeners are familiar with not just the dazzling wares from this Chicagoland house of paper, but also its amazing founder, a force of nature better known as Catherine Hildner. This mom of two, with another scheduled to arrive soon, has created a most intoxicating stationery range. I define the Kitty Meow aesthetic as polished and very smart. Think of the sharpest outfit you own that you feel like $1 million in, but in stationery form. Everything from typography to envelope choice comes together to pack a most enticing punch. But this range is not just about the surface. It's about honoring those connections with those we care about most. And you'll see once you visit kittymeowboutique.com that the wares are divided into witty and sweet because, as Catherine puts it, sometimes you feel a little saucy and sometimes you don't. But Kitty Meow Boutique is so much more than just another pretty face in the marketplace. The empowering messaging found on her cards, invitations, journals, coasters, art prints, and enamel pins elevates the range into something that makes you feel not just seen, but good about yourself too. Everything is essentially a little lift, visually and emotionally, for not just those you love, but you as well. Not only is Kitty Meow available for your personal shopping needs, it's also available wholesale to all those shops looking for something new with which to excite their customers. She's on Fair. Visit kittymeowboutique.fair.com and get your shop started. Finally, I think what I love about Catherine most is that she is really all about living your best life, as you'll see for yourself beneath the education tab on her site. She offers KMB Signature Collective, a mastermind for women in the product-based business world who have a love for paper and giftable items, who have an idea and a plan, but need guidance and support to be successful in their efforts. I so agree with Catherine. It's so important to be surrounded by like-minded women and leaders who are willing to put in the work to lift each other up. For that reason, it's not a course. It's a friggin' transformation, people. And Catherine has also started my second favorite podcast, Dreams to Plans, with another brilliant force of nature, my girlfriend Renee, to elevate your daydreams to actual, tangible plans. Oh, and if you're on Clubhouse, follow Kitty Meow so you can tune in to her weekly room Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Small Business Savvy, Insider Secrets You Need to Know. I checked it out for myself last week, and it was just the dose of inspiration and confidence my day needed. So get those good vibes going at kittymeowboutique.com and tell them Sarah sent you. So I understand you have a few questions for me.
Oh. I do. I love it. First of all, just so honored to be interviewed by you. But I'm truly interested. You're the editor-in-chief of and founding editor of Stationery Trends. And as a trend editor, you curate Gift Shop's trend report as well. You're a leading authority in the gift and stationery industry on trending design. So tell us how you got to this beloved place of paper for all of our paper junkies out there. How did you get there?
Well, you are very flattering. And I fell into it. Like so many people in our industry. So in late 1996, early 1997, I was working at HarperCollins. I always wanted to be a writer, and I always had wanted to work in the book industry. I'd always seen myself as ending up there, and I was there, and it wasn't quite how I envisioned it. I was in the illustrated book division, and it was an open secret that everybody was that the department was going to be closed. Everyone knew it. And so every day, as like one book after another that I was working on was getting canceled, I would go in the New York Times and in the one ad section and look for jobs. And one of them, it was like very vague. It was like a trade magazine for home decor. Well, it was for Gifts and Deck. And I went to the interview. It was in the New York Life building, which was amazing. And it was with Quinn Halford, who was at that time the executive editor. I interviewed with him. I had to write a product page as part of my application. It was the first product page I ever wrote, and I still remember it. They gave me like the press kits for the vendors and were like, we need you to write like, romance them a little. And I called it Fall for Candles. And I was like, is that too cheesy? But they liked it. And that was 1997. And I have to say, that was how I first got into it. I fell in love with stationery and all the people who work in it, and the product and the shows and just the lifestyle. And a few times I've almost gotten out, but just like the mob, you guys just keep pulling me back in. So
you can never leave.
I know you're stuck with me. Apparently I made a vow at some point and I don't remember.
Honestly, I think once you've drank the Kool-Aid, you're done.
Right. You're always a paper person.
You are. I am too, and I'm looking forward to continuing to get back and re-immersed in paper, because I had a little moment away from it and coming back into it. It all comes back to you. I'm really interested in how you do your research and marketing. Like, how are you keeping up with everything and the forecasting and the design and the trends, and how do you choose your topics? So that was a big question for you.
All right. I love that you asked it, and I'm afraid to say, I don't have a scientific formula. I wish I did. If anybody comes across it, please let me know. Oh. So I think, for stationery trend, I'll start with the publication. So for Stationery Trends, we have an editorial calendar, and that is part of our media kit that we use to sell, our publisher uses to sell against. And so, obviously we have to put down we're doing holiday in this issue and whatever, personalized stationery in this issue. I almost said bridal. I'm not going to say that. And so Brian sells against it, but I've always been a big proponent of sort of keeping it vague enough that I can pivot. And so if something big starts happening in a category, say planners or stickers or, profanity, that I can kind of implement it. Now, in terms of how I find trends, I used to, in the good old days, I would go to trade shows and I used to say I would do 6 months of work in 2 days. I would just see everything. And then it was a matter of taking a lot of pictures or getting a lot of press kits and then going home and digesting it. And then sort of coming up with a few things that I think are going on along the way. I watch Instagram. People reach out to me and tell me things. Thank goodness, because I couldn't track it all down. But now, now I don't have trade shows. So I think after summer, I really felt oh my gosh, I really don't know. I don't really have the same sense of what's going on that I have had in previous years. I feel a little lost, and so I'm relying on more of like, I call it like kind of a sixth sense. I just sort of, it's just about like when you trend spot, and the more you do it, you just sort of you just sort of develop a sort of awareness of what's going on in our culture, what's on people's minds, and reacting appropriately. I think that's why I've been talking so much about storytelling. It's like never been more important, and people are just seizing on like these little narratives. And so I think that's how I'm finding trends, really, is like what's on people's minds. What are they thinking about?
100%. 100% agree with you. It really is all about the narrative that we're hearing in the here and now. And I completely respect, even if you don't have an encyclopedia that you're pulling information from, I really do agree with you that it's listening to the vibrations that are out there and using your experience and being able to use your foresight into understanding what can go where. You have a very important role. So I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. Well, I mean, that's why I miss one of many reasons why I'm so jealous of you getting to go around to stores in New York, because I feel like there is so much of that there that I'm just missing out on that visual stimulation. And really, let's be honest, in New York, it's like, what are people wearing on the street? What is your coffee shop selling? What is that's where you find the next thing and you find the next vibe. When I was working at Gibson Deck, like in the late 90s, that was when Sex and the City was being filmed and was going on. And I was, sort of I like to think of myself in those types of professional circles. But the joke my girlfriends and I would always say was like, oh, they're doing it on Sex and the City now, that they were always 2 months behind of what everyone was wearing and doing and talking about. Even they couldn't stay up. So,
things are always changing, and we have to be able to be receptive to that. New York is changing. We're going through what we're going through. I try to get out of the city when I can, when it's safe. I drive out to Connecticut and up to the Hudson Valley. Definitely able to take more of a stance in New York because I live here in the city. So I'm always going to document wherever I have the opportunity to walk to. I spend time in Brooklyn too. But let me ask you, I thought your last question to me was extremely poignant. And I would like to hear your opinion of how COVID has changed the way you see stationery.
Well, first off, I have to say, I loved your response. It was but mine is like from a totally different direction. I took a totally different approach to this question.
And I think that's great. So lay it on us.
Okay. It sort of is a little bit about what I was talking about. But, when we went into quarantine last April, I was thinking that we were going to go to Noted in May, and then that got canceled. And then, and then there was a brief period where I was going to go to Book Expo, and then that got canceled. Yeah. And then I was holding in for the summer shows, and then those all got canceled. And so none of that happened. And I know I'm not the only one right now who's working in stationery who's just feeling like super isolated as a result. I'm not seeing product, true, but I'm not seeing the people. We're all sort of lonely and understimulated. So, in all this, getting the mail has turned into this red carpet moment. While all this is going on, like I've been calling it's a red carpet moment. You might not know it's coming, but with time having slowed down, you get the mail and you're looking, and there's a beautiful envelope from that friend you haven't heard from, and it's beautifully presented, and it's got a great stamp, and your name is written just so, and it's someone that you've just been missing, and you don't even realize you've been missing them as much as you have until you've seen the moment, until you see that envelope. Yep. So that's, to me, how COVID is changing stationery. There's just a new importance. And then going back to the industry, we're missing each other so much that that, like other industries, Zoom calls, webinars, and so on have become our way of life, which is why one of the reasons why I've fallen so much in love with the podcasting format. Paper people are so social, and we're missing that connection.
It sounds like a really good segue, Sarah.
You're absolutely right. May I have a drum roll, please? So about a month ago, I was approached by the New York Now team to start a very special project with Amy. And today it's my pleasure to share that throughout 2021, Amy and I will be hosting the Paper Plane Cocktail Hour with Amy and Sarah on the New York Now platform. The podcast will feature the two of us raising our glasses alongside our pencils as we compare notes on three of our all-time favorite topics: stationery, connection, and cocktails. We plan on chatting all things stationery, gift, wholesale, and retail with an equally heady industry guest every episode, and I can't wait to get started.
We are going to have a cocktail hour on the second Thursday of every month, starting in December. Our first day will be December 10th, and we will definitely get out the proper marketing and our exciting guest, which we will not announce yet.
But you guys are going to love her. She is, we came up with a list of our guests, and this one was on the top of my list. And
absolutely.
We just heard from her yesterday that she's going to do it. I was a little nervous.
So this is an exciting new direction that both Sarah and I are moving in together. And we definitely look forward to an interactive event, and hopefully just a continually growing awareness of paper and the challenges and the celebrations, and introducing interesting new people and concepts and ideas. And and who doesn't want to have a cocktail with us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I have to apologize for getting a little loopy in advance because I can't hold my liquor.
Well, I think you already started the cocktail.
I know. How did you know I started drinking? It is 5:00 somewhere. Yeah. It's exciting. We were talking about different types of programming and things we can do. A lot will kind of depend on how 2021 plays out. But we are really excited. We want people to get involved, and we want to hear from you. If you have ideas for podcast episodes or guests you would like to talk to, if you would like to appear, please. You can always email me. I'm always at my desk.
You can always reach out to me on Instagram as well. It really is all about building community and trying to create the essence of what we are missing right now. So to become, to come full circle, we are missing the in-person events. So that doesn't mean that we can't continue to have conversations in this manner. And we're really looking forward to it.
We really want you guys to join us. So
yeah,
please join us the second Thursday of every month.
Yep.
Cocktails optional or a double.
Well, on that note,
thank you so much, Amy, for being here. And we'll be in touch because we got to put together this podcast.
Yeah, we definitely will be in touch. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
All right, good. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Amy, for swinging by the paper fold. When I started this podcast, I kept hearing that one podcast leads to another, and I am so gratified that this is the case here. Please don't miss our first episode of the Paper Plane Cocktail Hour with Amy and Sarah. The first round kicks off December 10th, and then join us the second Thursday of every month throughout 2021. Finally, thank you so much for listening. As always, email me at sarah@thepapernerd.com with anything I can do for you. And if you are liking what you are hearing, please subscribe and leave me a good rating and review. I can't tell you how much that helps. Thank you so much, Paper Peeps. Please stay well.